Hey bros, Brandon and I are headed over to Eric's at his shop, Johnson Speed Shop here in Shelton, because we're still saving up for a Miller 252. So he said he'd let us come over there and weld them together on his welding table, and then we'll move on to figuring out how we're gonna paint them up. But step one, we got to get them welded together. So let's go over to Eric's. Join us. Alright guys, now that we're out here over at Johnson Speed Shop, we're going to go ahead and get inside here and start welding these axle stands together. Cue the music. Alright guys, that was pretty successful. Eric's super cool. Let us weld those together in his welding table. Now we just gotta get them cleaned up. We have to take the DA to them with 80 grit and then 180 grit before we hit them with self-etching primer, then sealer, base coat, clear coat. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to the shop now, see if we can clean them up a little bit and see where we get before the end of the day here. Back to the shop. Alright guys, now that we're back at the shop, we're going to go ahead and get our front axle here raised up a little bit and see if we can get our front axle stands on. We got to do a little bit of trimming on the inside of the stud holes. They're not perfect, unfortunately, but hey, we're still learning this machine and this was our first cut. So we're not just like cutting squares out and then circles and going, good job, first cut. We cut it out something complicated. So we just got to take the carbide bit to the insides of those stud holes a little bit, just take a little bit of material off, and then we should be able to get this guy on. But we'll see how far we get before the end of the day here. Alright guys, we went over to Eric's earlier and we got our axle stands welded together using his older 80s welders. Pretty awesome, big industrial welders. And we got them welded together. So we got the driver's side one on, and then we're continuing to clean up the stud holes a little bit on the passenger side one. The rear ones, we re-drew them before we cut out the last two faces for the rear. So those ones we shouldn't have to do any mods on. Because when we cut out the first one, then we cut out the second one, Brandon went, I'm going to test fit this real quick, and it was a little bit off. That's why he has to carbide out the holes a little bit. So he'll continue on that tomorrow. Guys, we got to just pop that one on, and then we can move on to the rear ones. But we ran out of time this afternoon, so we'll catch you guys in the morning. Hey guys, what's up? It's a new day in the shop. Let's continue right where we left off yesterday. We got to continue getting this front axle stand cleaned up with the carbide bit through each stud hole. They're a little bit off. And then once we get that to where it can fit, we'll install it, bolt it on with one of the lug nuts, and then we'll move on to the rear axle stands and then get them installed on the rear axle. And then we can move on to inputting all these measurements in the computer. Cue the music. Alright guys, now that we got all of our axle stands on and the axles are at axle height, we're going to go ahead and go get a 40-inch tire off the Dune 4RUNNER and bring it in here, and we're going to look at it for a little bit of perspective and then probably do a little bit of adjustments. I want to try to bring the truck down a little bit so it's just a little more user-friendly for me, so it's not so hard for me to climb in. And then we're going to move on to inputting all these measurements in the computer. So let's go ahead and go grab that tire and do that. Alright guys, we got one of the Dune 4RUNNER tires in here to look at. The 4RUNNER a little bit here. It's going to be big, but it's also going to be pretty awesome. Check it out. So, it's not going to sit out that far, but, and you know, from the top of the tire, the rocker there, it's not much of a difference. So we're going to probably drop the 4RUNNER down 4 to 5 inches, and then we'll make sure that the axle's still forward enough that this can turn at ride height. So we'll just have to kind of see here. So we'll just kind of have to see here, make some adjustments, and get those done, and then we can move on and actually start inputting all this stuff in the computer. Here we go. We took the axle stand off. We Brandon stuck the wheel in there, kind of where our 14-inch wide specialty forge will go. Kind of look like this. See, we're kind of making sure that we can have it at ride height, but so when I like pull out of a driveway or something, this doesn't come up and just eat the quarter or eat the rocker panel here. So I want to lower it. Brandon says that this is an ideal height, but I just want to try to lower it so it's a little easier for me to climb in and out of. I'd hate to rather drive the Super Duty here and then rather drive this because it's tough for me to climb in. So we're gonna kind of maybe scoot the axle back a little bit and see about bringing the truck down a little. Put you guys back in the time lapse as we make those adjustments here. Alright guys, after lowering it down 2 inches, we've looked at the wheel here. It looks pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it down 2 more inches. That's pretty much the bottom of this jack stand here. And I think it'll be just a lot easier for me to use, and it'll still be just as cool, lifted just as high, and maybe I won't get bothered as much for bumper height laws. Maybe I just jinxed myself there, I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and drop it down 2 more inches, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into inputting all this in the designing PC here. So after some adjustments and bringing it down, I'm pretty happy with that ride height. I like the way the front and rear tires sit. Brandon's happy with it. It'll still function and work. He has to do a bunch of redesigning on the bridges and stuff for the panhards and the radius arms, but I gotta have it so I can use it. You know what I mean? So this is pretty awesome. It looks super cool. The mirror's still above my head, the side mirrors are, so I'm happy about it. I think it looks super awesome still. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to redesigning some stuff and inputting all this in the computer now. It's gonna take us some time to do that.
God fucking damn it.
That ends another day at Cougar House Garage, guys. We got our axle stands fully put together and assembled and bolted onto the axles, and we got them at axle height. And then we went ahead and we changed a few adjustments on the ride height and brought the 4RUNNER down 4 inches just so it's a little easier for me to get in and out of when I use it day to day. So now that we got that changed up, Brandon made a bunch of adjustments to our bridges and our bag mounts and his calculations of how the geometry is going to function. So now we just gotta put all this stuff in the computer. So that'll take us a couple days, and we'll get back to you guys when we move on to frame plating. I mean, that's no fun watching us just put numbers in the computer. So when we get back to you guys, the next episode here, we'll work on frame plating and figuring out maybe where we're going to place our steering box. But until that episode, guys, thanks for watching today. Thanks for your constant support. As always, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the axle stands. And if you guys like Cougar House Garage, you like what we do, check us out at cougarhousegarage.com. Check us out at Facebook/Cougar House Garage. And we are Cougar House Garage on Instagram. Follow us, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.